We're holding on Samach Aleph, Amid Aleph, 61A1. We said we're going to start with Amma Ula, the top line.
I'm there.
You're there. So here we go. Okay. So now we're talking about doing the Avodah out of order. You mess it up. Somehow things didn't go the way they were lined up. They went a little off. They would go off the tracks. Ama'ula. If the Kohen Gadol Shech slaughters the goat, before he applies the blood applications of the bull in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he accomplished nothing. He has to take another goat, and after he goes back.
Where are we right now?
We are high, Terry. We just got started. 61A1, right on top, Omar Ula.
61A1.
Okay. And again, I'm apologizing. Right. And as I told Charlie, I'm apologizing in case I fall asleep in the middle here. My plane got delayed last night, and so we didn't get in until 4 o'clock in the morning. So I haven't slept yet. So given that, so if I sound a little groggy, go with it. Don't worry about it.
You're getting conditioned for the wedding and the mitzvatons and the mizinkas, so that's okay.
That's okay. Thanks. So let's start again. Top line, Ama'ula. And again, we're talking about on Yom Kippur, and the Kohen Gadol messes up and he does things out of order. And now the question is, okay, what is the rules? So Ama'ula, for an example, as we learned before, the blood of the bull has to be applied first, has to be sprinkled first in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, before the slaughtering of the goat. What happens if he slaughters the goat before he does the Zerikas Adam, before he spritzes the blood of the bull? Says he's accomplished nothing, meaning he goes ahead and he sprinkles the blood of the bull, and then he has to take another goat and slaughter it and begin its process. Says the Gemara, is that a fact? Tana, but we learned in our very Mishnah. If the Kohen Gadol advances and he does the avodas of the dam hasoyer, the blood of the goat, before the blood of the bull, Yachza, the halacha is, said the Mishnah, Yachza, he goes back, he then has to go again and re-spritz the blood of the goat after he spritzes the blood of the bull. That means even though he already spritzed the dam of the goat, it's nothing because he did it before out of water. He did it before the blood of the bull. So then he goes ahead, sprays the blood of the bull, and only afterwards he should then go ahead and spray again the blood of the goat, thereby things being in order. But says the Gemara Isa, but if this is true, like we Ula just said, that if you slaughter a goat, the goat, before the application of the blood of the bull, it's nothing, and in fact you have to slaughter another animal, another goat. If that's the case, the Mishnah should have said that he has to go back and slaughter a replacement goat, not merely bring the blood of the same goat a second time. Says the Gemara, because Ula is learning our Mishnah. Tigama Ula comes to interpret our Mishnah with regard to the application of the blood not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, in the Holy of Holies, but only afterwards back in the Heichal. Since it's in the Heichal, right? The Chain Omer office, b'matanoi shebeheichal, with the applications that are in the sanctuary. So in that case, we say that, well, in other words, it comes out, therefore, that our Mishnah is not, according to this, is not like Rabbi Yehuda, that says that doing things in order is not ma'akif, is not a problem when it's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Ella, we're going according to Rabbi Nechemia that says any time the Kohen Gadol wears the white vestments, whether it's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim or in the Heichal, out of order, does have a disqualifying effect. So that's really what's going on here. We're dealing in the Heichal, and we're dealing with the Machlokes of Rabbi Yehuda, who says anything outside of the Holy of Holies, if you do it out of order, the world's not coming to an end. And Rabbi Nechemia said, yes, it is. And that's really what we're talking about. So now we go to the next piece of our Mishnah. V'chein beheichol, v'chein b'mizbeach. The zerika, the sprinkling in the Kodesh HaKadoshim which is an independent procedure. It stands on its own. The same is true for the zerika in the heichal, and the same is true for the sprinklings on the mizbeach hazav, on the small mizbeach. Says the Gemara. What am I talking about? Tanu Rabbanan. The pasuk says, "V'chiper es mikdash hakodesh." At the end of the Yom Kippur, you shall atone for the Holy of Holies. You shall atone for the Holy of Holies. That means zeh lefnayu lefnim. That is talking about that if somebody was over on Tumah, he came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim inadvertently contaminated, or something becomes contaminated while he's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, this carbon will go ahead and be mechaper for it, atone for it. Oil moyed, zeheichol. The oil moyed is today's sanctuary. Mizbeach, the altar, kimashvai. It means tumah violations on the altar. Again, always not on purpose, but inadvertently. The halacha is yichaper. Elu azaris. When it says yichaper, we're talking about the azaris. And you'll notice what it's doing. It's going from the highest level of holiness to the lesser levels. The Holy of Holies, which is the highest. The Heichal, which is the second highest. To that, the altar, which is the third highest. To the Mizbeach, to the Azara, which is the fourth highest. We're now on 61A2. And the pasuk gets explained further. HaKohanim, the Kahanim kimashmoin. It's coming to atone for the Kahanim. Am HaKol, the people of the congregation. Elu Yisrael, these are the Jews who are not Kahanim and Leviim, the regular Jews, who may have stepped into the Beis Hamikdash while in a state of contamination of Tumah. Yechaper Elu HaLeviim, this is the Leviim. Hishvu Kulam LeKapara Echos. The pasuk is therefore teaching us that all Jews, Kahanim, Leviim, and Yisraelim, are equal with regard to one procedure of atonement. Shekulam mischaprim, that they all receive atonement, b'sorei mishtaleach, to the goat that's sent out to Azazel, to the mountain of Azazel to be thrown down, b'shar averis, for all the other averis that Klal Yisrael did. This is included in them, the tumah, the inadvertent tumas that they did. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda, these are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, Rabbi Shimon says, no. Kishem shedam hazoyer, just like the blood of the goat. Hanase b'fnim, mechaper al Yisrael, b'tumas mikdash v'kedoshah, just as the blood of the he-goat is done inside the Beis Hamikdash in the Heichal, atones even without vidui. It atones automatically, even if you do not say the words, Yischaper, please forgive. You do not say that. It happens automatically for the Yisrael for the Tumah violations that were done in the Beis Hamikdash and to its holy vessels. Kach, so too, Dama par mechaper al kahane betumas migdash v'kedosha. So too does the blood service of the bull atone automatically without having to say any words of vidui, any words of asking for atonement for the kahanim for tumatic violations in the Beis Hamikdash and in the holy things. That's what the bull is coming for. Ukeshem shevidui shel sora mishtaleach lechaper al kol yisod b'shar averos. And just like the confession that is made over the goat that's being thrown down Azazel atones for Klal Yisrael for all of their averos. Kach vidu shel par mechaper al kahanim b'shar averos. So too does the confession of the par over the Baal comes to atone for the kahanim for all their other transgressions. In other words, the animals themselves, the blood offerings of the Sa'ir and the blood offering of the Dam automatically forgives for regard the Avera of Tumah, of contamination in the Beis Hamikdash should you have been over. With regarding all other Averas, that requires Vidui Bepeh, that requires stating out clearly Chatasi Avisi Pshaiti Lebaneh, that I have sinned in front of you, our Father. Now, Tanu Rabbana, the pasuk says, "V'chila mechaper es hakodesh," when he has finished atoning for the holy. Zelef na'ilafim. This is referring to the sprinkling of the dam, the zerikas adam within the holy of holies. Oyel b'ayet. That's the heichal. The heichal. Mizbeach kimashmai means the mizbeach, referring to the sprinkles that we did on top of the Mizbeach HaPanimi, the inside Mizbeach. Mizbeach Kimashmai. Melame Shekulon Kapara Shekulon Kapara Kapara Neyatzma, that each one provides an atonement in its own right. Mikan Amru, here we learn. Nosan Mixas Matona Shibifnim Nishmar Chadam. If the Kohen Gadol started applying the blood inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then the blood spills, Yavi Dam Acher, he must bring other blood, V'yaschel B'tchila B'matonish B'fnim, and start over again from the beginning of the Avodah of the sprinkling of the blood within the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Okay? So, says the Gemara, Rabbi Shalazim and Shimon Amru, Einoi maschel b'makim shepasak. No, he doesn't have to go back to the beginning. He only begins to the point where he left off, where he stopped, because the blood spilled. We're on 61.8.3. Says the Gematana Kamavaita, Gomar es hamatonis. If he completed applying the blood in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, b'shebifnim, V'nishbach adam, and then the blood spills. Yavi dam acher, we bring another set of blood. V'hischel b'tchilas matamas shebetchila shebehechol, and from here he starts the beginning of the application of the blood in the heichol. In other words, he finished the blood applications in the Holy of Holies. He's done with that. The Holy of Holies stands on its own. It's mutually exclusive. Now the blood spilled, so I don't have any blood left to do the zerikas, the blood applications inside the heichal, inside the sanctuary. Okay, now I got to bring another animal, and that's where I start. Okay. Now, goes further. Nosa mixas matonis. What happens if you already made some of the blood applications within the heichal towards the curtain, and then the blood spills. Yavi dam acher, he's brought other blood. V'hischel b'tchilas b'tchila b'heichal, and he starts again. He has to bring more blood, and he starts again from the beginning of the applications inside the heichal. He already did part of the blood applications, and then the blood spilled. It doesn't matter. Since you didn't complete it, you have to go back to the first step. And Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon say, no, ain't a maschel b'makim sheposan. He only begins from the place where he left off. He doesn't have to go back to the beginning. What happens if he finished all the applications of dam within the heichal, and then the blood spills? Yavi dam acher, they bring him other blood. Meaning they slaughter another animal and they bring him other blood. And from there he begins the applications of the inner mizbeach, because everything is mutually exclusive. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, all the blood was applied. In the Azara, the blood was applied to the Kapairis, where you sprayed it towards the Paraichas, separating the holy from the Holy of Holies. What you're left with now is the application on the Mizbeach. So start from there. And of course, and we go like this. Mixes matonos. What happens if he started applying the blood on the inner Mizbeach, and then the blood spilled? Yavi damach, and they bring him other blood. And he begins in the first place at the beginning, let me look at this again. Yavi damach, and they bring him all the blood. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. I'm losing my words here. And he has to go back to the beginning of the application on the inside Mizbeach. He already did some of the blood applications, but again, says the Tanakama, if you didn't finish one of the procedures, even though each procedure is mutually exclusive, but within that mutually exclusive procedure, you're still in the middle of it. When the blood spills, you got to go back to the beginning. And of course, Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon from the point where he stopped, that's where he picks up. You don't have to rework the wheel. You don't have to go back to the beginning. Gomar, Matonis, if he finished applying the dam on the Mizbeach, V'nishbach hadam, and the blood falls, Divrei hakol lo ma'akli. Everybody agrees, pouring it out, the rest of the blood, as shirayim at the base of the outer Mizbeach, therefore it is not essential. Since you applied and did all the blood in the Holy of Holies, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, since you did it also inside the Heichel towards the Kodesh HaKadoshim, you sprayed the paraisis, and then you also did the blood applications on the Mizbeach HaPanimi. So now you lost the rest of the blood. No biggie. It's not a biggie. It's not mach. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, Shnayim and Mikra Echadoshu, both of them expanded the same pasuk. Midam chatas hakipurim achas b'shana. Pasuk says, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shnayim and Mikra Echadoshu, Midam chatas hakipurim achas b'shana. From the blood of the chatas of the atonements once a year. Once a year. Meaning, this is what you do. I, Hashem, have told you to only offer one chatas offering, and not two chatas offerings. So therefore, that means he has to begin again. That means since you can't have two, that means if the blood spills and you cannot apply the blood for the rest, we say the entire service is batal mebutal. The entire thing is off the shelves. So that it's as if you brought nothing. And now you're going to bring the second animal is essentially the first animal. Because chatas echos, achas b'shana, once a year. Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon Sabri, who said that you pick it up from where you left off, because they say, Chitu echad amarti lach. I told you to only do one sprinkling, chitul, v'lo shnei chiturim, and not two sprinklings, since no two sprinklings could be repeated. So therefore, I did part of it within each procedure, and now the blood spilled. All I do is pick it up from where I left off. Okay, I hope it's making sense, because I recognize I'm not explaining this as well as I normally do, because I'm just so tired. But if I'm not making sense, please stop me and ask me to repeat it. Okay? So, again, the whole purpose here was, how stringent are we when things don't work out exactly right? Because if the Kohen Gadol, who essentially did not sleep all night, so he's got a head that feels like mine, like
you
a
know
ton
how
of
he feels.
what?
You know how he feels.
Yes, I know exactly how he feels. So you do space out. There's no question about it. I'm looking at the words of the Gemara, and I got to be honest with you, there's swimming in front of me. So the reality is, how strict are we? And again, it really goes like this. We say we take each unit is a unit by itself. The Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Hazara, and the work done, and the sprinkling done on the Mizbeach HaPanimi. The only question is, if I started it already, do I say whatever I started is absolutely meaningless because I cannot finish it? So it's as if it never took place. And therefore, the second animal that I must bring is as if it's really the first animal, which means I got to start again, retrace my steps, and start from the beginning. Or no, do we say it's really mikan lahaba? It goes forward. What you did with each unit, within a unit. It's good, and you'll move forward to complete what you didn't do yet. Says the Gemara, Tanya, we learn. Amar Rebbe says, Li chilek Reb Yaakov belugin. Reb Yaakov differentiates for me with regard to the lug of oil used in the tahara service, in the purification service of a mitzvah. Somebody gets the biblical leprosy. And as well, the blood applications of the Yom Kippur offering. That Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon disagree with Rabbi Meir only with regard to the Yom Kippur offerings. They don't think that they come together. But they agree that in the case of a mitzvah, that if it spills out, the process has to be repeated. You cannot simply pick it up from where you left off. Belai, says the Gemara, but in fact, is that what Rameh is saying by mitzvah? But how did we learn in the Brayso? So, no, samixasas matonish shibipne minishbach alog. If the Kohen made some of the applications, if the Kohen made some of the applications inside the Heichel, and then the log of oil, okay, we're on 61A4, and then the log of oil spilled, Yomi loigach, and they would bring him another lug of wine, of shemen, of oil, and he would have to go back and retrace his steps and start from the step one once again in the sanctuary. Absolutely not. So anybody is consistent with what they said before. If he completed the applications inside the sanctuary and didn't finish the log, give me a second. I'm sorry, I lost it again. Let me try it again. Gotta look at this again. But Tanya notes mixes matanis b'fnim and nishbachalog, and the log of oil spilled down. Yobi logach, they brought another log. They biyasku b'tchila b'matanis shebeichel. It starts up at the beginning. No, he only moves on from the point where he spilled and moves on. What happens if he completed all the applications inside the Eichel? And then the lug of oil spills. Yavi lugach, and they brought another lug of oil. And he starts with the beginning of the applications on the thumb and the toe of the mitzvah of the person suffering from the biblical leprosy, which is part of the way the kohen has to take his finger, dab it in the oil, and smear it on the big toe and thumb of the person who was suffering from the what he called the tsaras. So he's got to go back to the beginning because the oil spilled. Even if he began applying it to the toe, but he didn't apply it to the thumb, he's got to go back. If he completed some of the applications on the thumb and the toe, and then the lug spilled, Yomi lugach, and they brought another lug. If he completed some of the application of the thumb and then it spilled, they bring another lug, and he starts again with the application of the thumb and the toe. And of course, because he said within a unit, if it's spilled in the middle, we got to go back to the beginning. Because it's as if you did nothing and everything you did before is completely and utterly erased. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon where he left off, that's where he begins. Says the Gemara, what happens if he completes the avodah of the toes and the thumbs? And then the oil falls away. Everybody holds. Regarding the applications of the head, then it's not not Rashi. I'm sorry. They all agree the applications on the head is not essential. So what do we see? That Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon disagree in the case of Mitzvah as well, which is different than the Baraisa we just said. So Amo says Rabbi Yaakov, Li Shana Rabbi Yaakov Belugin. Rabbi Yaakov argues with me in the whole context of the Lugan oil used for the purification of Mitzvah. He's arguing, it's not just what he argues completely. Amamak, Matanai Saraish, Eina Ma'akvas. The application of the head of the Mitzvah are not essential. My Tama, what is the reason? Is it written over there because the remainder of the oil he shall place on his head, and therefore it's the remainder, so no biggie. But then compare it to where also it says in the Torah, the remainder of the mincha. Do we say that it's also not ma'akif? On the contrary, we ourselves learn you're not allowed to simply do what you want with that mincha because it still retains all its kaidish. Shani Hassam, by the case of the Mitzvah, because there's one extra word. Tiksiv, Yeser, Vahanoisa. And then they were moving and they remained, I'm sorry, let me do this again. Shani Hassam, Tiksiv, Umi Yeser, Vahanoisa. Regarding Mitzvah, it says remaining and the remainder. A double lotion to teach me that over there it's different. Mitzvah is essential. Everywhere else, it's not essential. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. So says Rabbi Yochanan. And now we're on Samach Aleph, Amar Aleph,